Hello students, I hope you all are fine, and in this video we are going to discuss one other flow of entity framework, that is model first. And in model first workflow we used to create entity data model before the creation of database as well as before the creation of data model classes. So in database first we used to create database before the creation of model and code. And in code first we used to create code first, and then we used to create database. And in model first we used to create a entity data model, means entity relationship diagram, and by using that we used to create database, and we used to create data model classes also. And then we use context in order to work with the tables of database. So let's see stepwise creation of model first based database application, and the creation of database from the model, as well as creation of model classes, and after that reading and writing from the database by using the model classes as well as the derived context. So I'm going to create a project here. Also I will also upload the slides in which they are uh, they stepwise information, and you can use that information further in order to understand the model first uh, flow of entity framework. So I'm going to create a Windows Forms application. So in code first we created console application, and in this we are actually creating Windows Forms application. So just for the sake of understanding, this is model first, WF model first application, and create the application Windows Forms model first application. So after the creation of application, my target will be to create the model. So this is our form. Okay, so before working with the form or putting some controls on the form, to work with the tables database, we have to create the model. And let's see, in the Solution Explorer, there are no other files except of the files that are provided to us by default by the Visual Studio for the Windows Forms application. And one file is app.config file. In that we used to put connection strings and other settings also. Right now there are no other UC tags into the app.config file, only the default tag of configuration starter are there. So in Solution Explorer, right click on the project name and go to add new item. From the data category, select entity data model, ADO.NET entity data model, and put a name here. So blog context is the name that I am putting here, and edit. Here I am actually observing multiple flows. So I am going to select empty entity framework designer model. So by using this flow, we'll be able to create a model first, and then we will be creating the database and a model classes. So finish it. So here we have the workspace of uh, creating the entities. So by right clicking on the workspace, I'm getting the option of adding entity, and I'm giving it a name blog, and entity set will be blogs. Definitely, if the entity name is blog, then the set of entities will be blogs. There's a primary key, property ID, and property type is int32, and I said okay. So here only there's one property that I have added into the blog. If I want to add another property, then add a new scalar property, because I don't want to add a property that may be navigating other table also. Here I am only adding the scalar property like name. So name of blog, and I can also you see select the data type of this name property, name column. Uh, Here in entity data model, this is actually blog is entity, and these are attributes of these entity. Properties are attributes of blog entity. So name of this property is blog, and type of this is a string. I can change the type also, but definitely name used to be a string. That's why a string is sufficient for this. So after creation of entity, I may add other entities also. You see, like post and okay. So this is another entity. So after creation of entity, uh, I may create a database from this model. You see, so I have two entities here, and by right click on the workspace, I am seeing the options of update model from database or generate database from model. It's all possible. Maybe after creation of this model, I may create a database, and then I may make some changes into the database. Then according to the database, I can update this model also by using this option. And from this, by using this option, I can create a database from the model. So generate database from model. And here you see, we are actually being asked to you see, uh, for the database connection. Okay, data desktop 1 NOIV 12 local DB CFED CFEDB.dbo. So I'm going selecting the new connection using Microsoft SQL Server, and uh, okay, I have to actually copy the name of instance of SQL Server that I'll be using in to create the database. So I have two instances running here of SQL Server local DB MS SQL local DB. Have to copy the name, and then I'm going to generate database from the model and a new connection. And here I can directly put the name is SQL local DB Windows authentication. Enter the name of database. So you see model first DB is the name of database that I okay, test connection. So this connection cannot be tested because the specified database. So this means the database name that I have given here, their database is not actually created into the instance of a database server. This is the database server. First, you or we have to create the database over there, and then we used to create the schema of database and whatsoever the database tables that we want to create through this you see, model. So otherwise I can select these databases really. So this was for the sake of easy understanding. So I'm again canceling it and going to the local DBMS SQL, going to the databases portion and creating the new database with the name you see model first DB, model first DB. So that's it. Okay, we have created a database here, model first DB, but there are no tables into the model first DB. So the tables will be created according to this entity data model. So right click, generate database, new connection, server name, select the database that you have created, model first DB, and now test the connection. Connection is succeeded, so I can go further easy. Okay, and now okay, you see here desktop and local DB and Model first is the database using here. So this is connection string that will be stored into the app.config file also. So next, and it has Visual Studio has observed two, you see, versions of Entity Framework that are installed on this machine, on this PC. So I'm using the latest one, 6.x, and the next. So this is actually database definition language. You see, schema is being created with the help of a SQL, you see, and that SQL is actually stored into this file block context.edmx.sql. So this is SQL using for the creation of table, create table blocks, create table dbo.blocks, identity, not null, name, and creating table post, and then you see setting ID as a primary key, you see, add a constant pk underscore blocks, primary key, clustered ID. So everything is there. So after you see creation of this SQL, I have to finish it to see the file here that will be generated using blog context for edmx.sql. Clear? Uh, so I'm going to run this file, execute this file. Why? Because after execution of this file, the database schema will be, you see, changed in the code. Because of this code, relevant tables or the constraints or any other attributes that we are setting through this file for the tables of database, those will be observed. Okay, this is our model file. This is our SQL file that we generated from this model. And now, after execution of this file, uh, let's see, we have already executed, I guess, model first. And in tables, there are no tables right now, so we have to execute this file, and the local MS SQL local DB, select the database, which one, model first DB, and connect. So now, okay, all these commands, these SQL commands are executed, and we'll be seeing the two tables here. And in blocks table, you see there's no data, as well as in post table there's no data. Okay, so after creation of you see file, I'm going to add a button here. uh, Add block. So on click of this button, I have to add the one record into the block table. So for that, you have to use the classes, model classes, and the derived context. And derived context and model classes are available in this easy. So you can see here we have blog context.tt file. Inside this, we have a blog.cs, that is our model file, blog class, ID field, and a name field. Remember, in code first we created this class manually, but here this class is automatically generated, and we can use this class. And similarly, this blog context.cs, similarly we have a file that we use actually as a, okay, this is our post class. That, okay, we have a file that we can use as a derived context, and you can find it here as blog context.context.cs. That's a file, and this is actually the name of class that we use actually as a container. And remember, in code first we created this kind of a class by ourselves, and that class was actually child of db context. So now what I am going to do using here, again using, and the variable context was to uh, object of block context container, and here blog record equals to new log, record dot name equals to uh, John, and then adding the record into the blogs collection, and then save the changes, and then show the message box. Record is added. Message box dot show. Running this code right now. Add blog, and here record is added. Closing the application, and again going into the SQL Server window to observe the data that is added into the logs. ID is actually uh, the primary key that we selected already, and name is actually John that we have added right now. So I guess you understood all the points of model first, and as you practice on this scenario, on this below, you will be getting more points about this. So this is just a introductory tutorial, introductory lecture, but for deep level understanding, definitely you have to read more, understand more, and practice more. Uh, okay, we'll meet into the next video with the next flow. Thank you.